This video is about 5 super cool, kick-ass guitar pedals from Earthquaker Devices. Earthquaker Devices, if you don't know, was created by Jamie Stillman in 2004. Since then, they've grown from just Jamie hand-building pedals by himself, and now it's a small core team that's producing around 700 hand-wired pedals a week, all of them assembled in Akron, Ohio. I think that's pretty cool. Earthquaker has managed to stand out from like this crowded field of guitar effects because these guys aren't just satisfied with taking like an existing clone and just sending it out to you. They're improving on it, they're tweaking it, but most important of all, they're designing totally new effects in crazy, wild stomp boxes. Like frankly, one of the most important things for me when I'm playing like a weird pedal is like, does this have any actual practical use? You know, does it still have a musical quality? And I think Earthquaker really flirts with that line in a fun, sometimes really dangerous way. So if you want crazy sounds, you're gonna get them. But if you want something that's actually musical, something you can use live, yes, you're gonna find that here. So here are 5 unique pedals from Earthquaker Devices that I suggest everyone tries out. And you know, this really is everyone. It's guitar players, bass players, keyboard players. There's a ton of fun gear here and everyone's gonna find something they like. So number 1, the Arkanoid. So I wanted to start this video off with something that was definitely crazy. And this I think fit the bill pretty well. Basically the Arkanoid is a pitch shifter, but instead of strictly giving you an octave up or down, the Arkanoid is a smart arpeggiator that allows each note you play to sound like a sweeping arpeggio. Beyond single notes, the Arkanoid works on chords as well, and this is a great mix of being musical and totally bonkers at the same time. In terms of controls, the most important is going to be the variable step feature. This allows you to choose the number of notes in the sequence, which then determines the rhythm in your pattern. There are separate controls for wet and dry, and that will allow you to blend the original input signal with the digital pitch-shifted Arkanoid creation. This is a great effect to think of as an instrument. You know, beyond just like plugging your guitar into it, like what are some unique ways you can actually use it beyond that? Like for example, you put it on just the wet output of your delay so that your normal signal still comes out normal, but all of your delay repeats are delays with the Arkanoid on top of that. Like there's a lot of really exciting ways to use this pedal. Number 2, when I think of Earthquaker Devices, there is one pedal that immediately comes to mind, and I had to mention it, and actually it's 3 amazing pedals in one. It's called the Hoof Reaper. Originally released as a special limited run back in 2010, the demand was so high that EQD later reintroduced the Hoof Reaper and made it part of their permanent lineup. So let's break it down and go over the 3 pedals in this beast. First up, the Hoof Fuzz. This is the self-described flagship for Earthquaker, and the Hoof is a straightforward fuzz capable of warm, gritty overdrive that builds itself into a huge violin sustain. It's a hybrid of germanium and silicon on the circuit, and it's based on a vintage green Russian Big Muff. But unlike the dark and sort of flawed Big Muff tone, the Hoof has a tighter and brighter sound, helping it to cut in the mix, and especially when used in a live band. The key to the Hoof's voicing is the shift control. Basically, this alters the frequency response of the tone control. Turn it right and you scoop the mids. Turn it left and you boost the mids. This simple control is one of the best elements this pedal offers. You can easily dial in classic rock or heavy metal tones. The second half of this pedal is the Tone Reaper. And the Tone Reaper is inspired by a vintage tone bender fuzz circuit. Again, designed using a blend of silicon and germanium transistors, it brings the best of those 2 worlds together, and it's able to produce a wide range of tones from the various tone bender incarnations. This thing can go from like a trebly and spitty sound to like a rich and angry sustain. In between these 2 pedals, Earthquaker's hidden a glorious analog octave up. This octave has been so popular that Earthquaker now finally started selling it as a standalone pedal, and they call that the Tentacle. My research tells me that this circuit is based on a 70s era green ringer. And if you know me, you know that I love like an analog octave up. And the green ringer is one of the all-time classic designs. It contains no controls, no knobs, and the Tentacle follows that same formula. I'll overly simplify the design of this circuit by saying that it works by creating a ring modulation loop that builds into octave overtones. This gives you all the classic Octavia fuzz tones, but with less of the fuzz. And it makes it a great analog octave option for a pedal sandwiched between two different and distinct powerful fuzz circuits. Having these 3 stomp boxes in one unit allows for the following options: the hoof alone, the Reaper alone, the octave alone, the hoof and the Reaper, the hoof and the octave, the Reaper and the octave, the hoof and the Reaper and the octave. So you got a lot of options. If you demo the Hoof Reaper and you find that you really only liked one of the 3 built-in pedals, each is sold separately and you can buy it that way, but I think that it's really worth collecting your pennies to get the full combo. If nothing else, the combined version is going to have a better resale value. Number 3, the Avalanche Run Reverb and Delay. The Avalanche Run was developed as the bigger brother to an Earthquaker pedal called the Dispatch Master, and the team at Earthquaker wanted to push the design of that pedal as far as possible, but still maintain a set of easy-to-use controls. It's used as an advanced DSP, and the box contains up to 2 seconds of delay, along with a rich reverb. You have complete control over the delay time, repeats, mix, and tone, and with the reverb you have options to control the length and the mix level. The Avalanche Run has 3 modes: normal, reverse, and swell. So I'll break those down now. In normal mode, the Avalanche Run functions the same as any sort of straightforward delay and reverb would. So if you want those normal tones, you have them, they're in there. Reverse mode. The delay now runs in reverse, but the reverb remains in normal. And I have to say that I personally love reverse delays, and the ability to combine that with a normal reverb all in one pedal is super exciting to me, and it just makes me want to like grab a guitar and plug it in and just like spend hours with it. Swell mode. The Avalanche Run then moves into a dynamic mode where it reacts to your picking dynamics to automatically add a volume swell to your signal. If you like creating ambient music, there is definitely a lot of fun to be had here. Another aspect of this pedal that makes me super excited is the expression jack. And I'm a big proponent of the idea that like our pedals, you know, they're like an extension of our instrument. And we sort of play the pedal as much as we play the guitar itself. And I can already see like the comments now. Like, I understand, yeah, you don't play the pedal maybe as much as your guitar, but you get the idea. And I love having the idea to control the pedal on the fly. And the expression input on the Avalanche Run can be assigned to control one of 6 different options, such as reverb decay length, reverb mix, delay time, delay repeats, delay mix, and the coolest of all, toggle. This toggle option will crossfade from a forward delay in the heel down position to a reverse delay in the toe down position. Due to this pedal's digital brain, it features tap tempo and 6 different subdivisions that you can just easily select by turning the ratio knob. And the Avalanche Run can also be run in true bypass or buffered bypass mode, and this will add a natural sounding trail when the effect is switched off. And that said, it actually features 5 different trail lengths, including this one called Infinite, which creates a continuous feedback loop. So once again, ambient guitarists like rejoice, like you're gonna love this thing. The tap switch also has some super cool hidden functions that I really love. While in normal and swell mode, you can send the Avalanche Run into a self-oscillation by holding down the tap foot switch. In reverse, holding down the tap foot switch will flip the delay back into normal mode and then return it to reverse mode once released. My only complaint about the Avalanche Run is its stereo capabilities. This isn't a huge deal breaker, but let me explain what's going on. The pedal is analog stereo in the dry path only. The effect comes out as mono. If you have a stereo effect running into the Avalanche Run and your wet signal is blended into the output, you will still get the feeling of stereo, but it won't be a true full stereo image. If you run the effect 100% wet and remove the dry completely, then you only get a mono sound. This may be a deal breaker for you if you create big stereo ambient soundscapes, but since most people stick to a mono guitar rig, I don't think this is a huge problem for most users. That said, I still want to make sure I called it out to make sure that you were aware. Number 4, the Nightwire. This is a hidden gem on this list. Earthquaker describes this pedal as a harmonic tremolo. Well, what does that mean? What Earthquaker has done is design a pedal that splits the signal into a high pass and a low pass filter. Those signals are then modulated with an LFO that is split 180 degrees. And if you're thinking like, huh? Like, so was I, but trust me, it'll make more sense in a moment. Basically, this is a tremolo and a frequency filter, like an auto wah, and it's all happening together. The Nightwire's filter frequency has 3 modes: manual, LFO, and attack. In manual mode, the center point can be set to a fixed position with the frequency knob. This is sort of a bit like taking a wah and putting them in a parked position. In LFO mode, the filters are continuously sweeping and the frequency controls the speed. This gives you a bit like of a phaser-like tone. In the attack mode, the filters sweep dynamically, like an auto wah would, based on how hard your pick attack is. The frequency control then modifies the range of the sweep and changes the overall intensity of the effect. The tremolo section has two modes, manual and attack. In manual mode, the speed of the tremolo is set by the rate control, and this is just like a standard tremolo effect. But in the attack mode, the speed is controlled by the intensity of your pick attack, and the rate controls the sensitivity. I really love pedals like this. Like, the harder you play, the faster you get out of it. And with the attack mode on the filter, mixing these things together, amazing. The tremolo has a nice wide range too. It can run from subtle shimmers to intense, like choppy throbs. And the depth control on this pedal is something that I really want to point out as well. If you set the depth to 0, the Nightwire becomes a fixed filter, a phase shifter, or an envelope controlled filter, depending on which mode the frequency switch is set to. One of the biggest complaints with tremolos is a loss in volume, and this of course makes sense. Like, if your sound is going on and off, you're losing like half of your power. So to compensate for this, the Nightwire actually features a control that will cut and boost your volume. Finally, tone knobs, you can rest easy. This pedal is true bypass, and it features those soft touch switches we all love. Number 5, the terminal. So when ending a list like this, I wanted to make sure I ended with something that was like strong and attention grabbing. And the terminal will like grab your attention and like just like shove it down your throat and beat you with it. This is a really angry pedal. The terminal is a recreation of a vintage Jax fuzz, and these were also known as Shin companion fuzzes. And if you don't know what that means, well, in short, they're like super rare and hard to find these days. Earthquaker has taken the circuit though and improved the design to include a voice and treble knob, as well as a super necessary control for the output volume. The voice control adjusts the terminal's mid-range EQ sweet spot and frequency response. Clockwise, you'll hear like a mix punching upper mid hump that sort of reminds me again of like a wah in a parked position. But if you turn the knob the other direction, things begin to sort of like slink back down towards a low crackly thickness. But with this pedal never really becomes muddy though, so you don't have to worry about that. The treble knob is where you're going to do all of your fine tuning, and you will need this one to help rein in some of the top end. You can morph your sound from like muted and dark to being like a sharp top end that's just going to make like you make blood like come shooting out of your ears. For standard fuzz tones, keep the fuzz knob low for something more reminiscent of Satisfaction and like a vintage tone bender. At the other end of the spectrum, this thing will give you like a thick, spicy, like a rage machine. It'll still have a lot of articulate bite, and you'll get a lot of sustain out of this pedal. This was a really fun video to do the research for, and you know, Earthquaker is one of those guitar companies that, like I said, is pushing the envelope, and it makes me think, I like that because it makes me think about how I might make music in new and sort of different ways. So if your pedal board is in need of a refresh, definitely check these out. For me, after doing all this research and playing with things, the pedal that I'm probably now dying to add to my collection full time is the Avalanche Run or the Terminal Fuzz. I can't decide between those two. I love the sounds of the Avalanche Run, but I really like fuzz pedals, and the Terminal is just like... thing's nuts. If you found this list and video helpful, please click the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can also visit me on Patreon, where your support will directly contribute to the production of more videos like this one. If you have any questions about anything, please leave it in the comments below. And you know, I really like comments and I try to respond to every single one of them. Thank you so much for watching. It always means a lot to me.